Hello again. Yesterday I received a embarrassingly belated notice from Adam Lloyd, Officer 1812 of Northumbria Police, saying that notifying that my devices had been seized to prevent an obstruction of an investigation. Just to recap, on the 19th of November, um, Adam Lloyd uh, violently forced his way into my property, um, seized devices, and terrorized him and his colleagues. Terrorized my wife, leaving her traumatized, experiencing obscene levels of institutionalized racism at the hands of Northumbria Police, which is no great surprise, given that they have been complicit, along with the my accuser, district judge of the family court in Newcastle, Rachel Hudson, who they are acting at her behest because, as I've demonstrated on other videos I've posted, um, Rachel Hudson presided over terrible process where my younger daughter has suffered immense psychological abuse at the hands of South Tyneside Council Social Services, with full blessing of Rachel Hudson. She's had her Polish heritage erased. Um, I would only describe it as cultural genocide. Um, she suffered tremendous pressure and psychological abuse. She kept repeatedly saying she wanted to return home for as long as almost 6 months after she was taken. She was We were illegally prevented from collecting her from school on the 3rd of December 2021 by Kim Simpson as South Tyneside Council Social Services, acting with the head of pastoral at my daughter's school, prevented us from collecting her. And that was the last time we were ever able to talk to her freely. And since that time, a girl who was immensely proud of her Polish heritage has been stripped of that heritage and subject to, I would describe as cultural genocide and psychological torture. And Rachel Hudson, as I will return um, to the mechanics of our case soon, was aware of her culture being banished. She was banned immediately from speaking Polish. We were denied from seeing her for 3 weeks and then issued with a blackmail notice from South Tyneside Council forbidding the use of Polish language. So it meant that her mother couldn't even greet her in Polish right before Christmas in 2021, in an act of obscene inhumanity. Um, these are all the things that Rachel Hudson doesn't want you to know, that we will continue to disclose. We've done a lot of work on Rachel Hudson and uh, her peers across the United Kingdom, and as you'll know, um, I've identified a process that leads right into the heart of Britain's financial system, where children are being emotionally sterilized and packaged into cash generative assets and traded with private equity owned fostering agencies and accommodation providers. It's the same business model that underpinned the rape gang scandal. And so it's essentially what, going back towards Adam Lloyd, he used the pretext of um, uh, part of the pretext he used for entering my property in violent fashion, also later assaulting me in the back of a police car, was that I engaged in acts of vandalism against Rachel Hudson 9 and 10 months prior to him forcing his way into my property, alleging that I spray painted her car with no evidence whatsoever. I have no interest of this lady's accommodation or the car she drives. I would find looking at both repugnant given what she represents. And they use that as a pretext not only to seize my devices but to search my property for over 2 hours and terrorizing my wife Polish citizen in the process. He's made a number of mistakes, because initially he entered and said it was in connection with emails sent, harassment. The emails amount to, we are going to discuss publicly what she has overseen, and I've begun that process. So the harassment is not harassment, it was just advice as to what's going to happen, because she refused to engage in the fact that she accepted evidence in the form of the ABE, their Achieving Best Evidence from South Tyneside, an unsigned statement from a key witness, our elder daughter, who claims to have never seen the statement. This is in addition to huge falsification of evidence surrounding um, allegations that daughter expressed a desire to stay with a foster carer, to Donna Grant, that we will cover a good deal as we work through these videos, to then only um, over 2 weeks after say to the Child Guardian, one of these other faux independent figures of these corrupt processes, that she wanted to return home, to then miraculously in the week before the final hearing changed her mind, and a letter was produced to the judge, unsigned by my younger daughter, who's very capable of writing and signing her name, bearing all the phrases and narrative that were commonly used by Donna Grant, and that was presented to the judge. We were never able to see these. These were withheld from us during the process. So this key um, uh, falsification of evidence in terms of the huge psychological torture that they were bestowing upon my younger daughter, we couldn't challenge during the process. Rachel Hudson knew, fully aware of what was happening, that our daughter was being culturally cleansed and being emotionally terrorized by South Tyneside Council. That is why I will never cease resisting police state terror in the UK, racism and corruption. I will continue to resist those until my last breath. And it doesn't matter how much they try to terrorize me by seizing my devices, by trying to put me into a position where I feel so desperate that I take my own life, which is really what they're trying to do. I will continue to resist all their terror. You know, what happened to myself, my wife, does have very strong echoes to the ordeal that George Galloway and his wife were subjected to in, I think it was Gatwick Airport, albeit haven't yet been confronted by armed police officers, but who knows whether that will follow. The UK is a police state, but there's no exaggeration to state that. So maybe I'll be subjected to these in the fullness of time. But it's very important that we gather the concept that judges are not all honourable. They're not always right, and they're not always people of integrity. You know, I've used the Dawn Sturgis inquiry as an example of that. I mean no disrespect to Dawn Sturgis or any other people who suffered serious illness in the Skirple poisoning, but you can see with the Dawn Sturgis inquiry that was led by an ex-Supreme Court Judge Hughes, the Supreme Court being one of the biggest subverters of democracy in modern UK times. He put out a publication, the output of his inquiry, that doesn't even bear the basic level of scrutiny. It wouldn't even survive that. And it only took me just over an hour to pull it to pieces. And there are others who spent a good deal more time on it than me, that have also discovered a plethora of inconsistencies. You know, remember, he invites us to believe that 2 Russian agents waltzed into a densely populated cul-de-sac in Salisbury midday on a Sunday, walked up to a house unseen, no CCTV, no footage of any kind, no eyewitnesses, and approached the front door of a house. It was open plan, had two people inside the house, Mr. Skirple and his daughter Yulia, and without any protective equipment, um, applied lethal nerve agent on a door handle. And isn't it strange that despite the fact that they were under, albeit very constrained conditions, were happy for Yulia Skirple to issue a statement, which to me told me a good deal, because I think she's an extremely intelligent lady that wrote her statement in a way that gives us some very clear insight into what she thought happened. But they were very keen for her to issue a statement when she emerged from a coma. But in the inquiry, neither Mr. Skirple or Yulia Skirple gave evidence. They not even by secure video link. So you can see the inconsistencies. And I would guess the reason for that is what I would deduce is Yulia Skirple wouldn't say what they wanted her to say. Very similar to what I faced from the FCA, the threats I received from the FCA when I wouldn't uh, go along and produce a witness statement that they largely wanted to write that wouldn't address any of the catastrophic failings that they had overseen themselves, which are inextricably linked to the allegations facing John Dance. And I wouldn't do that because I believe that the two are inextricably linked and have to be explained. So I received threats from the FCA initially from Middleditch and Jennifer Hepworth, wanting me not to investigate the case, whereas, as I explained to them, I was investigating the human impact of their catastrophic errors and why they should apologize for them. And later I received veiled threats and coercion from the FCA under the guise of failing to cooperate because I wouldn't produce a witness statement that was their version of a narrative which I didn't believe was true. And I guess Yulia Skirple faced very similar threats and difficulty, and that's probably why she didn't have any input into Hughes's inquiry. So judges aren't gods, they're not deities, they're not all honourable, they don't all have integrity. And I will stand up to my very last breath for the dignity of my daughter and her right to enjoy and celebrate her Polish heritage. And it doesn't matter whether I face police state terror or whatever they want to do to me. I will keep going, and as long as I can breathe, I will resist. Take care. Bye.